Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back, guys. Another week, another podcast. I'm your host, Hussein, and today we do have our co host. Introduce yourself.
Duali.
Whoa, there you are, right on cue. And today we have, mashallah, we've got our brother, Mohammed, who is a product manager, who's going to, inshallah, drop some knowledge on our head tops, being the light. So,
Inshallah, inshallah.
mashallah.
Inshallah.
So, Mohammed, you want to introduce yourself, Bahi? The floor is yours.
Yes, Alhamdulillah. Thank you very much, Hussein and Ala. Mohamed Abdisalam. I'm a product manager in the civil service, specifically on gov.uk, and also co-founder of Somalis in Tech. And we are a community focused on increasing diversity and in tech, and I guess basically giving each other a leg up, and it's a platform for us to amplify each other's voices. So yeah.
Mashallah, that's very good, man. So we're gonna give you a good chunk that you talk about Somalis in tech, because I have to say, since I've come across a community, mashallah, there's a lot. I see it. There's a lot happening. There's a lot of buzz there. People are interacting in all these different actually groups and these social groups. We have like social events that you guys do. So mashallah, we give you some time to plug it in properly so people can join.
Definitely. No, I must say I'm glad to be here as well, and be in the hot seat. So hopefully we can have some good conversations today, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Inshallah, it won't be too much of a hot seat, but I'll keep going to Ali off. Go on.
No. I was just gonna say, before you jump in, Hussein, I just wanted to ask a really important question to our brother Mohammed. What made you, instead of diving into your career path right now, could you talk about why you created the channel in the first place? What came up, like how you came up with that whole idea in, Somali in tech and all that sort of stuff, and where you sort of found the need for creating that channel, inshallah.
Yeah, definitely. So I must say the big idea came from Abshir. Abshir basically approached me and said, I've been thinking about the fact that he's a software engineer, by the way, and he was talking about how he hasn't come across that many other Somalis that are in tech, and he was thinking about setting a meetup. He actually set one up, and wanted to basically have a space where we could meet others like-minded, work together, share knowledge, and I guess also be a space where people can just talk about their experiences. So he approached me with that, and I said, you know what? I'll be honest, I thought this was a great idea because I'm a product manager. Until a few years before, it's never something I'd heard of. And even going into it, it was something that I was able to speak to others and learn about. So I thought, if I could save somebody that hassle, and they come onto this space and they can talk to a product manager, just Slack them, find out about them, organize a chat, then this is something that it would be very, very worthwhile. So yeah, Abshir really approached me with that, and I said, yeah, let's do it. And now there's a team of us. So yeah, alhamdulillah.
Mashallah. So did you know Abshir personally, or is this something that
Yes. Abshir is my older cousin.
Mashallah.
Okay.
So yeah, there's definitely a lot of history, a lot of love there, a lot there, definitely. So so he knew I was I think I was just starting out as a product manager at the time, and we were having this chat, and he said, you know what, this is what I've been thinking about, do you want to jump on? I said, you know what, definitely, because it's something that I know I could benefit from. I'm sure many others could as well. So yeah.
No, mashallah, I have to say that there is a lot of benefit in there. We just generally see, firstly, because we have a how can you say it? We have a visibility problem with Somalis in tech, basically. There are many of them, but most of the time, because of the just demographic of people that you work with, you don't get to see a lot of Somalis. Yeah, especially if you're in certain roles. So software engineering is one of them. Being a product owner or being from like a project management or in a project life cycle is another one. Because I've come across through Somalis in tech, but you're the only product manager that I know of.
Yeah, so Yeah, so it's crazy because I don't know any other Somali program managers, and then in the community I've come across like 5 others, who are doing their things as product managers as well.
Oh
So
wow,
it's
okay.
yeah, so it really is it's amazing to see what's come of it. And I must say, on the point about visibility, we felt like that. A member of our team said early on, we need to get all the Somalis that are lurking and hiding in LinkedIn, because there's a lot, but we're just spread out, and there wasn't sort of a place where we can come together. So now we're seeing every day we have people joining the Slack channel from almost all parts of the world. So it's really good to see.
And Mohammed, like, one thing is very very shocking, since someone told me about Somalis in tech, and when I joined, is that I've never met so much Somalis in software engineering in my life. Before that, I just knew, because obviously I'm predominantly M365 stack, so Microsoft stack and stuff.
Yeah.
So I just know a bunch of network engineers, a bunch of Microsoft engineers, a bunch of infrastructure engineers, and that side of thing. But since joining the Somalis in tech, I started seeing, subhanAllah, so many. I'm an engineer, I'm this developer, I'm that. So it's really good. And again, we need to carve up some more people in that, I guess.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm gonna 100% echo that, because we held in a hackathon, and we got so many applicants for that were software engineers, and that we actually had to basically say we had to turn some people down, as in they couldn't take part in the hackathon because we had that many engineers, and it was our first one. So definitely it's amazing to see, and I'm sure there's even more. And I think the next stage will be just seeing more collaboration between Somalis who are in tech, and working to solve real problems. So look out for that as well, inshallah.
Inshallah. And I think, like, for me, I don't know if you know much about my background, but I don't come from a tech background. I come from I've got 2 degrees in media and communication and sociology. So I did my dissertation on Somali diaspora and communities and all that sort of stuff. And I see a lot of
my guy. I got a sociology degree as well.
As soon as you said that, I know where it was going. Mashallah.
Mashallah.
I left you on LinkedIn. I saw sociology degree. I was like, him and Finger are gonna click that.
All right, khair, inshallah. So we're gonna talk at length on that, inshallah. But no, basically, as I was doing my dissertation and doing a lot of research, interviewing people, I've seen a lot of unemployment, and young Somalis caught between cultures and all that, all of that sort of stuff, isn't it? So, but the good thing about technology is the only industry that I see that all the Somalis are helping each other, developing themselves and all of that sort of stuff. Because when you look into stuff like what I was wanted to get into, like marketing, digital marketing, that side of things, it's not a lot of Somalis that are in those sorts of industries. But when I see tech, it's when literally every Somali can literally go from zero to hero. So I just wanted you just to talk about a little bit around that section in your ideas of, developing that Somali community. Should it just be in tech, or should it be across the board in different industries?
Yeah, definitely. I could talk about I found that as well within tech. I think even broadly, but even more so within ours, there's a lot of collaboration. People are more than willing to help each other up, and help each other out, and that's what I really found out that I actually enjoy about being in this space as well, and why we've got the community. Like, people are so forthcoming to give tips on how they got to where they are, or give advice about like salary negotiations or interviews, and that's not something that I came across in other areas. But I think for us as Somalis in tech, I think our focus will be this area, because it itself is huge. There's, like you talked about, there's network engineers, there's like software engineers, product managers, designers. So it's a whole spectrum. There's a whole spectrum of people that we're trying to cater for and improve, their either their career path or their skill set. But I think that every area should have sort of this community of practice. Like, if it's in marketing, there should be an equivalent for those in marketing. If it's for those in, even the most niche thing, I think having a community that you can call upon ask questions, and effectively a place where there's like, I think you'll know what I mean, but effectively a place where there's a lot of cultural capital, where you can tap into. So if I want to go, my brother wants to go down the AWS route, I'm just going to call Hussein. What is it? What does it mean? What does he need to do? What's the quickest route? What shouldn't he do? And just by that alone, my brother might have saved himself like 6 months. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think that to have that space is really important, and that's why we put an emphasis on holding events on a wide range of topics, because there's some things that you can pick up only having, even implicitly not having initially thought about it. So yeah.
Mashallah, that's good. Well, on that note, why don't we look at product management and how you go into this channel? So just give us a little rundown of how you got to this point, obviously, and just give us a little background of where you come from, what you did, and all of that kind of stuff.
Definitely. So yeah, the short. So let's start with the degree. So I did. I was in A levels again. Coming back to, there wasn't really many older. I'm 29 now, so there weren't too many Somalis I could call on that were older than myself at the time. So I just went with what I was good at. That was sociology. Did that for 3 years, and then kind of thought I probably want to get into a bit more politics. That was something else that was really interesting, and I did a master's in international studies and diplomacy, and the dissertation that I did at the end was about remittances. So like looking at money transfers to Somalia, and like I guess East Africa as a whole. Is it a development tool or is it a security threat? This was around the time like the Habshid's bank accounts and stuff were being closed. So I finished that, and then I was just doing any job. I think I was at Sainsbury's, just looking for a graduate job, and I came across like one of the directors of the Habshil. We just started talking, and I kind of forgot about it. And then a week later, I saw his card in my pocket. I said, you know what, I'm out here basically not doing the kind of jobs that I want to do. So let me give him a shout. I gave him a shout, and from there it turned out to be an interview. And my first graduate job was actually at the Habshil. And the way I got that role was really through the dissertation, because I spent like best part of 3 months just reading about remittances every other day. So I knew a lot about the sector and that kind of thing. So I was a compliance in the Habshil. I spent about just over 2 years. Had a really good time. My Somali improved dramatically. And yeah, absolutely, I must say, wallahi. So
side effect, man. That's a good side effect to have. So that's a good side effect to have.
Definitely. So that was really good. But then I kind of left because like opportunity reasons. I felt like civil service, obviously it's a much larger organization, and many more opportunities to grow and do different things. So I applied for that, and I went into a non-technical role. I was working on EU exit projects, but quite early on, once I got in there, I started to see what the product managers were doing and hear a little bit about it. And when I was at the Habshil, I worked on an online, they were working on at the time creating an online version of the money transfer system. So I had some familiarity with like thinking about user needs, solving problems with like technology and delivering I guess end-to-end solutions. But I didn't know that's what a product manager does. It was just sort of a project manager. And so when I got to government digital services, where I started, I got to know a few product managers, really spoke to them, formed some good relationships, and they really taught me through what they did. And I was like, you know what, this is actually what I want to get into. So the way it started for me was I began to shadow the product managers, which is a good opportunity because I was already at GDS. Like part of my day, I would join their meetings, see how they worked, what they worked on, and really understand the space. And through that, the shadowing kind of led to mentoring. Really cool PM that was shadowing at the time. And from there, I really realized that you need to get experience, right? That's basically the main thing that they're going to ask you about in an interview. So there were two brothers who are developers at GDS. They were working on a mosque screen application, so you can go and your local masjid could have a digital version of the prayer timetable effectively. And they were doing it as in civil service, we call it a corporate contribution. So you get to spend some of your time at work building or working on a problem that will either benefit GDS or like benefit society. So this is what they were working on, and I kind of jumped on and put on a bit of a product manager hat, and I was able to like learn on that project really. So it was really cool for them to bring me into that.
Right.
And that's really where I got some experiences that led me to start applying for jobs. I was just like, okay, let's not waste any more time. And in between that as well, actually, I kind of got my manager to approve me doing a product management course as well. So having the shadowing, having done the course and the hands-on experience of working on this project, I was able to get an associate product manager role. That's basically a junior product manager in another part of government. Yeah, so I went out there and I was an associate product manager and kind of learning on the job. And I did that for a year. Really, like, it was really good experience. It was on a product called Civil Service Learning. So it's like loads of people were using it, and like loads of civil servants as an e-learning platform. And yeah, from there I was able to build on those experiences and then get promoted to product manager, which is what I am now. And I'm now back at Government Digital Service.
MashaAllah, that's a full circle that you've just done. So you said that you were working for GDS. At that point, were you still working on the EU exit program, or was that?
Yeah. So first, I was on the EU exit program, and this was like really my role was making sure that different departments had what they needed in terms of digital skills. So we called it capacity and capability to prepare for EU exit. And it wasn't for me. I wanted to work on a service or product. And I was able to, whilst in that role, really transition into the associate product manager.
I wanted to ask, the shadowing that you did, is that something that was from your own pocket, or was that something that was like, how graduates, they get put on specific silos, basically, so they move from things to thing to thing? Was it something like that, or was it something that you went out and seek this out?
Yeah, no, it was definitely something that it wasn't a like official program. It was so I was speaking to a couple product managers who were there. There was this really cool black brother, and there was an Asian brother as well, who were both PMs, and they both suggested that I do shadowing, and they basically put me in touch with somebody I could shadow, who was really cool, and I was able to just get them to shadow me like a couple of hours here and there. I kind of would go missing, I guess, from my team. But I had a really cool manager at the time as well, and I told him, listen, like, this is kind of what I want to do. And it was like, okay, so if you do your work, then fine. So I would just come in, bang out my like set work, and then be focus on being a mentor. So what I would say for that is it's quite a unique thing, like because I was able to do it right, and I was in an organization that had product managers, but if you're not, then I guess that's where it comes in. Like, reach out to, like, what I did was I reached out to like other people of color, because I felt like they would be more likely to want to help me, and that turned out to be the case. So I would say, like, reach out to people whom you feel you have some possible how do I put it, like, exactly. And so so if you don't have it at work, then join a community where you can reach out to these people and you can find out a little bit about shadowing them.
We also,
I feel like that's a good way.
100%. We always say here, is that no matter what industry you want to get into, the best way and the fastest way is seek a mentor. A mentor, because seeking the mentor will literally, like, you can learn all the courses. You can go onto Udemy and buy a course and whatever, and just learn whatever you need to learn. but you're missing so much different components within that job market itself. So we always say seek a mentor. And the best way to do that is just LinkedIn, just DM as many people as you want. So that's the main thing. One question I did have for you is that, of course, you have a varied day-to-day activities that you do, but what would you say are the core components of the day-to-day that you do, just so we visualize what a product owner does?
Yeah, definitely. Really, I guess overall, your job is to solve problems, right? And what that means is, if you're in a business, let's say you are in a business that sells cars online, and you're the product manager for that, your role is making sure that you meet the needs of the business, you meet the needs of your customers. So in this case, your customers might be people who are selling cars, but also people who are buying cars, and really being at the sort of intersection of the business, the customer, and sort of design, and making sure that you're building something that is effectively meeting the user's needs. And I think that's a little bit jargony, but that basically just means building something that people will use and people will find value from. And if you're doing that whilst also making sure that you're meeting what the business wants, that might be the goals of the business, the strategy or the vision of the business, whilst also keeping in mind like good design practices. That might mean something like accessibility. Your website can be accessed by people with let's say visual impairments, and that kind of thing. So you're not necessarily doing all of the things. You'll have a team often of people with different skill sets. So you might be working with a developer, you might be working with a technical architect, a designer like a UX, a UI designer. You might work with a user researcher to better understand what your customers want. So that's broadly what the product manager would be doing. And I think on a day-to-day it could be quite different. Myself, today, for instance, we were synthesizing research. So we had carried out some user research about a new tool that we're thinking to build. So today we were putting all those, synthesizing the research, I guess is a fancy way of saying putting all the research together, all the notes, and picking out themes so that we can make sure that we're focusing on building the right things. So that's what I was doing today. But some other days it might be actually doing the user research, taking part in that. It might be working with stakeholders to convince them of what you want to do and tell them why what you're building is important, why you should get the funding to do that. It might be working with your designer and looking at some of the sketches that have been made for this thing that you're going to build. It might just be working with your developers to talk about the technical depth. So some of the things that you would have liked to have done, but you didn't do because of other priority, but you still need to do in order to make sure that the product is as good as possible. So I think it can be a lot of different things. And the product manager role is something that is very different depending on where you are as well. So I may have missed some things out that other product managers would do every single day, but wouldn't necessarily be part of my day-to-day. So yeah.
Sorry, I'm going to apologize in advance. From my technical standpoint, because I'm a techie in the team and we have product managers, I've always seen product managers, user researchers, business analysts. I always what you guys do in the sense.
We guys do. Well, live done
user research. This guy's doing user research. So what's happening here? He's gathering requirements. You're gathering requirements. I'm confused. Okay, you guys go do what you do. So please shed some light. And stay. I know, because as a product manager, you would technically tell the user researchers to go get the user research, and that would aid you in making decisions and things of that nature. Yeah. But please break that down first.
All right, I'll try to break it down a little bit more. So the first thing is that as a product manager, you're not anybody's manager, right? Yeah. So you might not even be telling them what to do, but you kind of want them to do something. So it might rely a lot on your influencing skills. Because the thing, what makes it difficult is you're not anybody's boss, so you can't directly often tell anybody what to do. And everybody is probably on the same level. But you might have some people who are more senior than others. But really, the crux of something that is, I would say, oftentimes unique to the product manager is managing the backlog. So what that means is the things that you're going to work on next. It might be in the next month, a few months, 3 months. And another thing would be on that topic of 3 months, like what is your roadmap? And what that means is what are the things you're going to be working on for you to achieve your goal? And on the point of goal, the product manager would be the one oftentimes setting the objectives and key results. So we would say, okay, for this business selling cars, we want to convert, X number of our users. And the key results is some of the indicators that would tell us that. It might be page views, it might be traffic, etc. And the final point is prioritization. So that's where I would say to you, Hussein, please drop that. Let's not focus on that right now. Let's focus on this thing, because this is what is going to add the most value to our product, our service right now. So, but then there is also some crossovers. Like I would do some user research, user researcher would do some. They might take on some things that traditionally would be done by me. But then there's the whole other element, which a product manager might do if you don't have a delivery manager, which is about team health, running your retros. And I also forgot to mention the product manager would probably run sprint planning as well if you work in sprints. So that's if you're working every 2 weeks on a specific set of things, the product manager would be doing that. But yeah, Hussein, maybe your product manager is sleeping on the job.
In my current project, we don't have a product manager, but we do have a delivery manager.
Oh,
and he
nice.
does exactly what you just described. Everything he does. Yeah?
Yes, exactly.
My next question would be,
yes,
would you ever have a product manager and a delivery manager in the same team?
Yes. So good question. I work with a delivery manager right now in my team. So and it's very good. So it depends, right? It depends on the team, but also who the people are. Some delivery and product managers will have clear lines of like, okay, I do things on this side, you do things on that side of the line. So that might be like running a retro is strictly for the delivery manager, like dealing with resource requests. Like if your team is down an engineer, that's strictly the delivery manager, like team health and making sure you're delivering on time. That might be the strictly the delivery manager. But where I work, we sort of pick up from one another basically. So it's quite collaborative. Some things he will do, some things I will do. Yeah, where I work, we basically have both. And
when you say delivery manager, you're talking about service delivery manager, sah?
So this is now we're going down
because that's exactly the same job, like the same job specs.
The thing is, with government, they have very بالضبط, they have these titles. So they have a product manager, product owner, delivery manager, technical architect, web ops engineer, DevOps engineers. They have like these specific terms. So delivery manager is like a project manager.
It's like it'd be oftentimes you might hear like Scrum Master. That would be your delivery manager, and the product manager is like product manager, or sometimes they're called product owner. And those there are some slight differences, but broadly speaking, we can say they are the same.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. Yeah, we had similar at Hogarth, isn't it? We had that product team, and then you have the service delivery, and
those people calling managers, directors, and human beings managers and cleaners. CEO, bro, it's going on among us.
Well, I'm the director of this, and the only manager.
I went to a company. Ali used to work. Me and Ali used to work in the same company, and I went there. Yeah. I'm speaking to directors. I'm being referred to as a manager. I'm like, what is this place? Where's the director with us? And there's the director's director. There's too many directors, like 500 directors. I'm like, okay, so I'm getting used to, man. Yeah, well, every organization and every
they have their own structure. Yeah.
Their own structure. Every machine has their own parts, right? So
definitely.
Government is a beast of a machine, man. But yeah, mashallah, thanks for breaking that down. Another thing is, what I would like people to do is, because I know as a product manager or anything on the business side of things, I would say, because generally in a scrum team or in a team, you can break down technical and non-technical people. Can you give us, because you guys are more well placed in making these judgments because you're quite close to the business, can you break down what a team would look like and what each function of each person would be, if you're comfortable doing that? In the sense, you don't have to get too deep into their job role, but
so I think so there's this overarching concept like agile, right? So it's a broadly speaking, it's a way of delivering, and one of the things is you have what they call multidisciplinary teams. That just means a group of people with a different set of skills. So so that could be, if we talk about a full multidisciplinary teams, I'm going to list out loads of things. Apologies if I forget anyone, but a product manager, you might have a delivery manager, a user researcher, you might have a content designer, you might have a service designer, you might have a performance analyst, you might have a developer, of course. You may have, I don't think you'd have a business analyst, but that is possible. You may have a business analyst. I've worked with one before as well, actually. You might have a technical architect. It's unlikely you'd have a data scientist, but that's another role that exists, and that's actually the who I'm working with most in my current project. And finally, as well, you'd have an interaction designer. So that's the person who would be sort of looking at the user interface and building that out. So that would be a wide range. So the developer, we kind of know what they do. They would be the one building the thing. Content designer would support with what the journey should look like, what the content would be that is best fit for whatever you're building. Interaction design I've spoken about. And performance analyst, they might be the one looking at the metrics, a lot of the data that would be coming in through something like Google Analytics. And yeah, we've spoken about delivery and the product manager. The data scientist would do some modeling if you have if your product would require that as well. Service designer, this is really a cool one actually. They would probably, if I'm going to butcher this, but the service designers would be looking at how your service might interact with other services, or specifically they would be looking at the problem like more zooming out and seeing it from a step back, and looking at the different touch points of your service, like what different touch points a user may go through, and that, and probably a lot more, to be honest. And yeah, I feel like those are the most. Have I missed any out, Hussein?
Bro, me, I've got technical hat on. I only see technical things. I don't know if service integrators and service designers and content creators exist.
Show me the error message.
Yeah, exactly. He's on that. Show me that 404.
To be honest, it all depends. I haven't come across a lot of this, but some teams do have like service designers, and because I used to work for consultancy, we used to have a lot of like bid work that we needed to do. So we would have to start building a team to go on these projects, and a lot of the requirements will be, you need to have a user researcher, you need to have a business analyst, you need to have a service designer, you need to have a senior service designer or senior service architect, or whatever they used to call them. I was like, what are these things? For me, I've never come across them. I've never had the need to look at them, but inshallah, since you've named a lot of them, we will find them on Sit, inshallah. We're gonna get them to come on the podcast.
No, definitely, yeah. So I was actually, there's a few Somali service designers that I've come across now. So yeah, definitely they could tell you a lot more about what they do, I'm sure. But yeah, like now I'm finding there's a variety of roles. So for those of you who aren't like, I don't know if I want to, because oftentimes you just hear about tech and you hear about being a developer, right? You might not even hear about being a site reliability engineer, DevOps, and a lot of the other things. So one of the first events we held with Somalis in tech was, I think, titled Non-Coding Roles in Tech. And we had a product manager, content designer, service designer talk about what they do. Because if you want to get into tech, but being coding isn't for you, there's so many other roles. And I think the majority of roles aren't to do with coding. like developing, being a software engineer. So there's a lot to get involved with.
I think also a lot of people that I usually speak to as well who do want to get into tech, especially Somalis, they're sort of fearful to get into this space because they all see is coding or that sort of stuff. And I do tell them there is a whole spectrum of roles they want that they can get into. I don't know much about your areas, so like business analyst, product owner, but you spoke quite a lot today on that, so that's good knowledge for me. In your opinion, would you say it's difficult to learning on the job, or just so that you can ease their mind on this topic?
Yeah, definitely. I would say it's not harder than anything else to learn. You can, a lot of it you can do. It's something that you can learn. That is best learned, by doing. Right. By learning from your own mistakes, reading about it, implementing things, changing your approach. The product manager role is very so as a product manager, one thing that you always hear about is a minimum viable product, right? So that is the minimum thing that you can send out to customers to get feedback on and then be able to iterate. And I think in a way you should treat your approach to learning your career like that as well. So if you're like, okay, I want to do product management, and break it down and start doing some things, take that on. You've now got that in motion, and then you focus on other things that you should be doing to effectively build up your skill set. So the main thing I would say is start doing something. So work on a side project, or find people who might need a product manager, get involved, do that, and then you can begin to talk about your experiences, and in interviews talk about some of the mistakes you made, possibly what you learned from that. If you show that you're somebody who's learning from errors, then that's very valuable. But it's similar to everything else. I think with software engineers, we see there's a lot of people who are learning themselves or going through boot camps. So this is no different, except there might not be as many boot camps, but you can definitely learn it without. As I said, there isn't. I did a sociology degree. There isn't a formal product management degree, as far as I'm aware. So all of these people that you see either learn on the job or did some qualification on the side. So definitely something you can get involved with.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's quite important, because the way that I explain, if people want to get into IT support, desktop support, I just tell them it's just customer service. Just as long as you're able to communicate effectively, then that's enough. And also you just learn systems on the job as well. And how I transition into that to infrastructure, M365 stuff, I always tell them that it's just learn the systems, Active Directory, Office 365, Azure, Intune. These things will pick up sooner rather than later. So it's just a system. It just becomes repetitive. So I just wanted you, Mohamed, to talk about that. So Jazakallah khairan for that. It's just systems that they can just learn and then just pick it up sooner rather than later. Nothing to fear.
I wanted to ask, would you say there's some core skills or core things that a person that wants to get into product management can start picking up by themselves, or even go seek out a way of doing it, apart from?
I would say the best thing to do would be what Ali was saying earlier. Like, find yourself a mentor, find yourself somebody who's doing what you want to be doing, right? Have regular meetings with them, and from there find out what you need to do, and from basically start to do those things. But if we're talking about core set of skills, a lot of their job is communication. You might be communicating with your team, and influencing is another part as well, because as I said, you're not anybody's boss, but you still want oftentimes the product to go in a certain way. It might be like challenging people who are above you as stakeholders who tell you to go in a certain way, but that's not what you want to do, or what you think is best for the product based on the research that you've seen. So those are like some of the broader things, but oftentimes you'll be right in you might be writing product requirements, you might be writing user stories. So if you're somewhat familiar with that as well, then it shouldn't stand you in any stead. But I think overall, if you're somebody who's got a passion for solving problems, you're passionate for technology, you're interested in like making sure that you're building the right thing, and you're getting a bit of a buzz from doing that, then it's definitely something for you.
100%. Just at the back of that, me and Hussein always asks, you guys, that if they were to literally copy exactly your path, where would you, like, what courses would they start with? For example, say if I wanted to go onto Udemy today and learn that product owner, what courses would you recommend them? How would they get into that whole industry? AWS is very clear. Hussein taught us that quite well. All of the certifications from beginning to advanced. Is there a similar for the product owners?
So, not that I am aware of. Like, I know the AWS route is like, quite something that's quite laid out. I wouldn't say that this is as well explored, as well documented. There's a lot of different things saying a lot of encouraging you to do a lot of different approaches, really. There are some product management courses, but they are really expensive. I haven't seen any, like, there isn't one I could really recommend on like Udemy. But I know, like, for example, there are some that cost a couple of grand, which is really expensive.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so I wouldn't really recommend that. I think with product management, really, it's about when you go to an interview, they're going to ask you, when have you done X, right? Tell us about a time where you prioritized a backlog. Tell us about a time where you met user needs. And a lot of these things would be best explored, like you would be best able to explain it if you did it to an extent. Or it could be, it doesn't have to be a product per se, but you could talk about, you could possibly apply some other examples to having, let's say, tell us about a time you met a user need. It might not have been that you built a website, for example, but you might have been working on a project where you had to speak to the people that were going to use it, right? So you could use that. But I would have liked to have thought of a better example. But the other option, I guess, is to use like transferable skills. So if you haven't done a website, but you might have, let's say you work in a place where you have to do a lot of things at once, but you decide to go with one thing over the other. Effectively, that's prioritizing a backlog. So if you can talk about why you went with this X thing over Y, and show your thinking, then that's product management thinking. But there's a lot of guidance on all of these different things. So like prioritizing a backlog, you can read about a value versus effort matrix. So there is a lot of things that you probably do in every day. You're making a decision about things, and every day you choose one thing over the other. So if you can call on that experience and use some of the terminology that you might associate with product management or way of thinking, then I think then that would be it. But yeah, maybe I should put something together to address this, because or possibly look further into it, because I'm sure there is something out there, but I'm not sure if there is something that is doesn't cost you an arm and a leg.
You need to. That's what I mean. You need to take the initiative to put this guide out, basically. Even if you don't write it yourself, say this is the first link you should look at. This is the second link you should look at. This is the third link you should look at. Mashallah, what are you speaking now? Because I had a discussion with one of my friends about because he works in local government. He works in the housing department, and we were just having a conversation, and I was just telling about some of the kind of roles that you can get into, like some delivery managers and like product owners and product managers. Why don't you look into that? I said, what do they do? I couldn't really explain to him exactly what they do, and I couldn't guide him on how to get there. So just now that he was speaking, because it's quite difficult to say, like telling someone, asking someone, how do you become a manager? I don't know. Manage people. You need to be able to do the job, and you have to learn while doing it. So would you say a product manager is very similar? Because you have to actually be prioritizing the backlog. You have to be meeting the user needs. You have to be doing these things and able to communicate this very well for you to be able to say that I'm a product manager. You see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I think if I got it right, what you're saying is it one of those things where you kind of have to have some experience of it?
Yeah. I wouldn't say necessarily experience of it, but you have to have done it, okay? So even if you haven't done it outside, because let's say
these are like more practical skills.
If I wasn't in this field at all, in the tech sector at all, and I was working in, let's say, estate agents, I wanted to become a product manager. What kind of skills can I say that I have these skills that I can literally transfer over to being a product manager?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. On what I think would be useful is one of the things that you could do to find out what skills you need is look at job applications, right? So start from that end and then work your way backwards. So you go and you search for, I would search associate product manager. That's basically a junior product manager, and then see what they need and see what they ask you about. And then from there, go about learning those things and reading about the terminology they're using, learning about if they ask you about product backlog. If you're an estate agent, I'm sure you probably have many houses that you're either renting or letting out at the same time. And you might focus on renting out the one that costs the most, because that's the one that you're going to get most commission from, for example. So being able to articulate why you chose one thing over another is a good point. But there was something else which I just remembered. And there's this thing called Digital Data and Technology Capability Framework. This is a government thing, but you could if you search DDAT. DDAT. So if you search DDAT framework and you go on there and they have like these job families. So you'll see product job family, and you go on there and it will literally tell you to be an associate product manager, you need to have an awareness of these set of things. And then you can then go about learning those set of things. It will tell you if you want to be a senior product manager, you need to be at this level. So it might move away from having an awareness of communicating to a group to being a practitioner with negotiating with stakeholders. So just an example. It might not be exactly what it says, but it's just to give a flavor. So it's DDAT framework, and it has it for product and delivery, any like technical jobs, any user-centered design jobs. So if you want to be a user researcher, if you want to be a service designer, content designer, you go on this DDAT framework. It's on gov.uk, and from there you can find out what you need to do, and then it's on you to build that set of skills.
Perfect. Hussein, we might have to link that in the description.
Yes, I would have to definitely. That's a very good shout. I completely forgot, because I'm aware of this. And there's something else called the Sfia Skill Matrix that tells you what different darajat are there. So if it's a junior, if it's a mid-level, if it's a senior, where exactly these people do. So this person needs to have this kind of maturity of thinking. They're managing. They're supposed to manage the life cycle of a whole product or whatever it is. Because I remember, once again, working in a consultancy, we had to look at this stuff, and obviously that was applied to us because we were predominantly working in the government space, or like I say, local or central government. So this was being applied on us, and we had to go look for people that matched the specific skill sets as also. I came across that first as man. Mashallah, the government is quite, they're very well organized. I don't know what's going on, man. And to be honest, they have a lot of talent. Nowadays, they put their effort in getting all of the greatest talent that's out there using the latest technology. So I got to rate them, man.
Yeah, so they've done a lot of the heavy lifting, so as to speak. So yeah, I'm sure the link to this will be in the show notes. So it's a good place to start, I would say. And even now, I use it now. I'm a product manager trying to become a senior product manager eventually, right? So I'm going to be looking at what that means, and then I'll be focusing on developing those skills, so that I can reach that stage.
Mashallah, that's good. And just to put it out there, the CEO of Microsoft, Satya Nadella, he used to be a product manager in Microsoft.
I never know that.
Wow, that's all I needed to hear. That's all I needed to hear.
A lot of CEOs of these tech companies, they used to be product managers. So you have to pay attention, mate. we've got a big CEO in our midst right now.
Future CEO. We might have to switch sides, Hussein, man. We might have to go to that side, man.
Usually, people that are technical, the boundaries are limited by the technical abilities. I just have to say that. Put it out there. On the business side, Alhamdulillah.
I must say, no, there's a lot of people to transition to product management from a technical side as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot. I am not where I work, but for some employers, they want. This is another good thing actually. You remind me. Some employers actually want you to have been a developer in a previous role before you can become a product manager with them. But just to put it out there, I think to demystify it, a lot of people might think you need that, but that's not necessary. I would say the majority of roles that I've come across, even outside government, and they don't need you to be a developer, but you just need to have an understanding about, I guess, what the development life cycle might look like. But you don't need to have coding experience to be a really good product manager.
Yeah, cool. Just like that same conversation of, do you have to come from a technical background to be a CTO? Not necessarily. Some people do put that they do put that requirement out there that you have to be, but alhamdulillah, they're the only ones that limited themselves in that case. But mashallah,
added bonus.
Yeah, so mashallah, there's a good shout, man. Good shout. Now the floor is open for your sit activity. So let us know more about, when I say sit, Somalis in tech. Alhamdulillah, let us know how it came about. Obviously, you've told us how it came about, but if there's any bits and bobs that you forgot about, do let us know.
The floor is yours.
Why should people join Somalis in tech?
Yep.
Good. That's a good question. I think people should join because there is effectively a lot of value in the community. And I mean, when I say in the community, I mean the people in the community. So the other day we had, I saw in the channel a person join with like great extensive experience about machine learning. And they just basically came in and you get ownership, right? He set up a machine learning channel, which I think has about 20 people in that now who have an interest in that. Somebody else came in and we didn't have a UX UI channel at the time. And they were able to set that up. And now I think there's 60 odd people in that channel learning and sharing thoughts about UX, UI. I'm still waiting for someone to set up a product channel, but hey, that might happen after this podcast. Someone might step up.
Inshallah, inshallah.
You're the co-founder.
Yeah, you know what?
You can just create a quick channel, man.
No, but you know, that's the thing about the community. I think what we want is we want it to be a space where where people can really add value to themselves, like what they want, right? This is definitely what I would like, but I want somebody else to take ownership of it. And I think the main thing that we're trying to do is we want it to be a community that works without us eventually. Now we have about 700 people on there, which is amazing because I think we set up the Slack channel less than 4 months ago. And it shows, I think it's testament to the fact that people really wanted a space where they can come, even have informal conversations, share. So we had somebody recently who got a job through the community, right? And that's amazing. We have a channel called Jobs and Opportunities, and it's, well, I would definitely have benefited from that before I got this job, because imagine Hussein is posting a job. I'm just going to be like, Hussein, I'm sliding Hussein's DMs and be like, Hussein, can you tell me about this job? What do I need? What do I need? What's the manager like? Is it a good environment? Should I really take this? By the way, Hussein, I've got an interview. Can you tell me a bit more about that? Oh, Hussein, I got an offer. Can I negotiate the salary? What should I say?
Wallahi, man.
And having that really network is, I must say, I think it's a really, really good thing that one can benefit from, and people can add value to themselves as well, right? So I've mentioned people can set up channels. Another thing, with Ramadan coming up, we're going to take a bit of a break, inshallah, but afterwards we have like mentorship is a key thing that we want to set up. We realize that our community, there's a lot of junior members on there, and we want them to be upskilled, right? We want them to get to move into those senior positions over time. And I think you both have spoken about the importance of mentorship. I benefited from it, so we want to put that forward and for others to benefit. So yeah, and I think we also have community focused events. So we have these thing called lightning talks, where people would give a talk about any random thing. It could be about something. We had somebody talk about lessons from 1 year of running a startup, Wallahi, it was amazing talk.
Wow.
Yeah, and this was somebody in the community who had been on Y Combinator, who'd got accepted, to Y Combinator, who are giving their 2 cents, after a full year of running a startup. We had somebody talk about cybersecurity. So there's like the whole thing about the community is every day, like, I'm impressed because you realize somebody is doing something amazing. And the fact that you can just literally drop them a DM, and everybody I've DM'd so far has kindly responded. But I feel like having access to that is something that as a community we could benefit from. I'm trying to get my cousins in and telling them join tech, and the first place I'm directing them is, rather than me having to answer their 100 questions, people in the community will answer. So that's really what we're there for, and it's about helping each other out, learning from each other, and I guess just building each other up. So if you haven't joined, you're sleeping on the job, basically.
You are. I have to say, from a user's point of view, not the one that runs it, I have a lot of people that slide into my DM. And mashallah, for advice, what should I do? This, that. I'm trying to get into DevOps, I'm trying to get into AWS. Alhamdulillah, I don't know how they come across that. I know these things, obviously, because I'm in the group, the DevOps group. But mashallah, even within the DevOps group, we have our own events. Not events, every Sunday, every fortnightly, we run these little meetups online. There's brothers that are like SREs at HashiCorp, SAP, that run these events. So these are brothers that, mashallah, doing really well. There's other senior brothers there. I just found out a brother that's been a developer for 20 years is in that group. I was like, what?
There you go.
Look at that. Yeah.
That's what we saw. And, even the brother, remember when you did when we were doing the hackathon? That's another thing. Can non-Somalis join?
Yes. So we have. That's a really good point. We have some non-Somalis in there. Definitely, we already have some.
We had an Irish guy in the called Connor who was in there.
What a legend, man! Like Connor. So with the first hackathon we had Connor join. He said, "Hey, can I join?" We said, "Come, of course. Can you contribute?" He said, "Yes." And he was a great member of his team, wallahi. And so the thing is, it's open. Yeah, it's an open community. We we are Somalis in tech. That's who we are. But anybody can join this space. We've set it up initially to meet the needs specifically of and address some of the challenges that Somalis are experiencing. And I think having that niche is a really good thing, because it means it's a space where people can talk freely about issues that other communities might not be able to address. But we're definitely not exclusionary. I was speaking to a Libyan brother the other day, and we got on really well. His name is Mohamed as well. He's in product management. I said, you know what, join the community, because we can definitely benefit from what he's doing. And the point that I wanted to raise is, as people in tech, we want to if I'm going to benefit from somebody, I'm not going to be like, oh, where are you from? Okay, I'm not going to take what you're saying, right? We would benefit from anyone. So we're open to anyone joining and us learning from them, and them learning from us as well. It's a two-way conversation. And the other final thing I was going to say was, Hussein, mashallah, you really touched the community. There's things happening within the community that I might not even be aware of, right? Because it's a space where people can set up their own thing. But we've got amazing talent. We've got people from Stripe, Shopify, we've got people from Facebook in there. We've got people from Kazoo, which is more of a recent startup. So and probably many other places as well. So I'm just glad that people are benefiting from it. Which is what we set out to do. So inshallah, I guess the challenge is to continue that at a more scalable way.
Another thing that I found from the group was basically, let's just put it out there, it's a Slack channel. So people, you're talking about Somalis in tech. If you go to the website, hopefully join the Slack channel. I don't know if there's another Somalis in tech somewhere else and they joined the wrong thing. But Somalis in tech says Slack channel, join it, inshallah, and that's where the community is. I found out that there's another brother, that Somali brother, that runs a podcast that's very similar to this. I just found that out randomly because you posted it in there. I was like, it's interesting. I was like, oh, mashallah, it's really good, wallah.
Definitely,
Much
yeah.
more polished than us, I have to say. Better quality. Like, alhamdulillah, set out to meet a certain niche. Alhamdulillah, it's been serving its purpose so far. But shout out to Brother Mohamed Jama. Go listen to podcast. It's called.
Yeah,
still a nice
podcast.
name.
Yeah, definitely. And also the other thing is there's a show and tell channel, and I think this is where I came across this podcast, where people post things that they're working on, or things that they are doing or want help with or ideas. So that's I think where that's also I saw the podcast. I've made a note to listen to it as well, actually. So I do need to check it out, inshallah.
But yeah,
inshallah, check it out. We've got a lot of content there.
Yeah,
So,
we've been going strong for a while now, a couple of months. This is backlog for what inshallah we're gonna post in the future during Ramadan.
Nice.
So we're doing all right. What was I going to say? I was going to say another thing is you make connections. The whole connection, the reason Mohammed's on the podcast is because we made a connection doing what? If you want to explain, Mohammed?
Yeah, definitely. So I even forgot to mention that people are just really connecting with other people and working on interesting things. We're working on a Somali news site. So there's a lot of stuff that people are doing and are doing together within the community. I'm still waiting for the day we get a $1 billion valued company from somebody in the community, but it's gonna happen, inshallah.
Yeah. Inshallah. There has been a couple of startups from the hackathon, right? The group that did the voice thing, I remember.
Yeah, so they so I think they are the one group that is continuing the solution that they found, which was really cool. And so yeah, hopefully we'll be running another hackathon as well, having improved and having learned from the last one we ran. So it's still very early, but that's definitely something that's on the roadmap as well. So really excited to see what happens, inshallah, post Ramadan and what we come up together as a community.
A lot of plans, mashallah. Wallah, is really good.
Ali, you need to be active in the group, man. You need to create that Microsoft, whatever you guys do, man.
Yeah. No. Do you know the funny thing is I'm on a Discord channel where we have this Microsoft community. So these are all Microsoft related issues. Everyone who has issues, again, this error message, and you have a bunch of people that just jump on it. So inshallah we can do something like that in the Somal. Like basically, wallah, a user will have an issue with this user is unable to outlook is slow, whatever, how do you solve this problem? And the 10 guys would jump in saying this is what you do. So having that community in the tech channel would be amazing as well, inshallah, in the future.
Definitely, that's what we want to get to. Like the other day, I was quite chuffed. I saw somebody asking a question, like it was a technical problem that they were having, and like they got like 5-6 responses in a thread about what they should do to solve that technical problem. So yeah, stuff like that is really amazing to see, and it comes back to the point where I find that people are so willing to help each other out. They're more than happy to give you a couple of minutes to ask your question or understand a bit more about what you're doing, and if they have something to say, then they will. So it's been really like good to see that uplifting part of the community.
Definitely. Wallah, it's very important. Yeah, 100%. I think for me, generally speaking, there's a lot of people who wanted to get into tech, and I forgot exactly what I was about to say. I was saying you might as well go ahead and do your.
That's what you get for supporting Microsoft.
Why are you acting out, bro? You said Microsoft a couple years ago.
I'm joking. Bro, I work with Microsoft on the daily. I don't have anything against it. It's just I like to pull people's legs, man. It's all right.
Yeah, I know.
So, alhamdulillah. Is there anything else? Because I know, mashallah, everybody's quite active. You're quite active. Anything else you want to plug, Akhi?
Bro, not really. No, I just wanted to say, wallahi, it's really good to have this chat. And nothing else for me to plug. Nothing else really. Join the community. You're right. It's somalisintech.com. And yeah, from there we've been working on the website as well, actually. So do check out for that. It's taken us a little bit longer than it should, but nevertheless, we were focusing on the important things.
It's that big option.
Yeah, which was getting the community up and running. But yeah, we should have that with somalisintech.com. And I guess nothing else to plug. I think inshallah, I'm really excited. We've got a really good team as well of core people. And inshallah, hopefully getting more volunteers as well, so that we can scale this and impact and benefit more people soon come.
No, Jazakallah khairan for jumping on, Mohamed. It's been very, very like, it's a big learning for us as well as technical people. So wallahi, I think you benefited a lot of people who do want to get into tech, and at least motivated them to actually join the community. But inshallah khair, we'll definitely bring you on more as well for other areas, inshallah.
Definitely. No, the one thing I wanted to get out of today was convince Hussein that product managers do a real job. So if
I said they did it. We didn't even have any conversation about this.
So what we're saying is we're just waiting. If you can confirm that, then it's been a time well spent.
Well, supposedly.
Well, the funny thing is, it's not just Hussein, like when I was in the office, I was thinking the product team, what are you guys doing? Every minute you're speaking to the CTO and he's going upstairs, having meetings coming out. What are you guys doing, man? But yeah, it's really, really, really good.
I'm going to add my 2 cents to that as well. Sorry to cut you off, but I wanted to add my 2 cents that generally a product manager, even though they don't manage anyone, in most organizations that I've worked with that has a product manager, they become the de facto leader and the manager of the team. So people go to them for approvals for some reason, even though they don't really hold usually the business hold the purses, and they're the gateway to the business. So people generally go to them and say, oh, we need to get this and we need to get that, and we've got this blocker, we've got that blocker. And the product manager goes ahead and unblocks a lot of things for them. So alhamdulillah, if you're interested in that kind of stuff, by all means, go for a product manager role and not do any work.
We love that. MashaAllah.
Jazakallah khair for coming and actually taking this on short notice. Barakallah fiqh. Well, I learned a lot, man. And alhamdulillah, there's a couple of things, gems that we found via you, man. And hopefully we're waiting for you to come up with a guide now, inshallah, and create that channel.
Inshallah, inshallah.
There'll be a lot of influx of people coming in, so prepare for it.
No, inshallah. And I will look forward to continuing this conversation of ours as well, and seeing where this podcast grows. Because I feel like you lot are doing something really, really powerful. Like, have that sort of audio and hearing what different people are doing, different stories, and how they got there and where they want to go to next. Bro, I'm looking forward to tuning in more myself.
Maybe you guys should look into doing a podcast as well. Somebody's in tech.
Now we got you lot for that, man. MashaAllah. we got you for that, MashaAllah.
Well, you can do more high budget stuff with the money. And on that note, inshallah, we can end. And
Jazakallah khair.